So since I've last seen you, we had a Telstra technician come out and had to, put a new wall socket in because the previous Telstra technicians were doing their job fixing the internet properly. And understand you're telling me off air that you're having problems with your internet because you're $1 late, which I find a bit stupid, to be honest with you.
It's so silly because it in your account you go in and it just says, "Oh, you've got this much credit," but it doesn't tell you. But you need $1 more to actually have the service. So it's like, yeah, you've got the money there, but
Are you on a plan or a prepaid modem?
Yeah, it's just a spilled my coffee. Just a prepaid.
Yeah, we're on a plan with Telstra.
Yeah.
But do you pay Do you pay your bills at the post office, direct debit, or online? Because we do it at the post office, the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. No, we do it online now.
Yeah.
It's just everything in Europe, I think, is really set up for online banking. They charge you if you go into the store to where you buy the internet service. They charge you €3 if you want to go and charge it. You want to top up or pay your bill at the store. They'll charge you an extra amount.
Yeah.
But having said that, the speed of the internet in Europe, in Austria, it's actually pretty slow, but compared to Australia, it's really fast.
Yeah, I've heard Europe and for some reason the States have always had faster internet, and it's a lot better for live streaming as well.
Yeah.
Ever since we've got the NBN, it's better than the ADSL2, but not high speed internet what we had at university. If I tried to live stream to multiple platforms at once, it's going to be horrible. So I can only do one at a time.
Yeah.
But it's it's a bit odd.
You get spoiled too, because I remember my father would be on the having the phone and hearing that, and it would take 5 minutes for him to get something up, and then you'd be all watching the computer going, "Oh, look!" And he'd type something, and you'd go, "Oh my gosh!" It was very exciting, and I was in America in the 90s. At the university that I was at, they were the first. MSU is one of the first universities to get email. And the concept of email was very new, and so I just jumped in and embraced it. It was like just fantastic. As soon as I got that my first email was to friends in Australia, and actually but one of my first emails was to Richard Vella. You know Richard Vella?
Sounds familiar. Email, is becoming a hugely wide way to communicate. You got electricity companies in Australia wanting people to pay by email, but I don't. We don't.
Yeah, it depends on how you feel, like your security level.
Anyone can send a.
Cool. I just got a thumbs up I just did a recording this morning of some sounds on the clarinet.
Awesome.
And John just gave me the thumbs up to say, yes, they sound good.
Awesome. It's always good.
Yeah.
As I was saying, you're getting these scammers now that making these emails look so legit, from the bank, Apple.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, you got this happened to my grandma because she can't use internet. Our electricity provider just decided to stop sending the bill in the mail and try to send it an email, and she's getting this link on her phone thinking pay this, and I don't know where this is coming from.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so easy to be scammed too. You just look at something and it goes, you must do this now or else, and you jump. Your reaction is to jump, but you always have to double check. If any business really wants you to do something, they're going to prepare you. That's why we were so surprised about our $1 missing from our bill. But what had happened is they'd sent it to a phone number that we don't use anymore. So we just have to make sure we change that number. So, of course, we didn't get the message, but they had sent it out to everybody well in advance, let people know there's a price increase of €1. And so they've actually did send it. And so, you just have to be really careful.
Have you been getting
passwords and, make sure that you're clearing histories, clearing your caches, clearing cookies, using different browsers maybe for different things. There are some good browsers out there that don't keep track of your selections.
DuckDuckGo.
And DuckDuckGo is good. Brave is very good because you can immediately, once you quit, you can automatically have your history deleted or cleared. And there are a couple. There's actually another one called Vivaldi. I don't know if you know that one, but it's one of the few that you can actually use Instagram with all its features on. So if you're an Instagram kind of person, normally you can't you can't put things into Instagram on the computer, or at least I can't. But with Vivaldi, they let you do that. So that's a nice feature sometimes if you're Instagram kind of.
And then there's you've got the Tor browser as well.
Yes, that's a good one too.
There's another private one. But as I was saying, like the banks want people to start doing direct debit, and I'm like, no.
I'm hesitant, but once you get into it, it's fine. It is nice to, go through. I use PayPal as well, which is a really handy one, and it is nice to look online and you go, oh, I like that, I want that, and I order it, and it's within minutes. I'm just sitting there waiting for another week or two to get the product. That kind of, to me, is like, I'm always very careful and cautious because something's going to go wrong, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I've had really good success. I bought some pens for my art, for an art project that are a particular type that I could not find in our massive art store that we have in Vienna. And I thought, the only place I can find it is online. So I got them, and they were absolutely perfect. They came exactly the way they said they would. They came exactly the time they said they would. It was very, very good, inexpensive. And so, easy. So online has its advantages.
Have you found the art shops are ripping people off? I've actually found that because I used to go to an art shop, Eckersley's.
Yes, Eckersley's. I know Eckersley's very well.
But overpricing everything, and I can go to my newsagent and just buy, I don't know, a felt tip pen cheaper than they price it in the art shop. It's going to do the same thing. I think
there are places like Target and some of those places. Here we have things called, there are drugstores like the American sort of style where they sell everything other than drugs. Perfume, cream, alcohol, sweets, cosmetics, and they also sell office supplies. And they often have very cheap, for the same brand, very cheap alternatives to the art stores. I think the thing about the art stores is if you're going to Eckersley's for a pen, you're not really going to get a good deal. But if you're going for a 3-meter canvas, it's probably the best. Although there is the Sydney Art Store I think it's in Alexandria or Green, Sydney in Green. Where's that place? Green Square? No, near Mascot. I've forgotten it now. But I think it's near Mascot. Anyway, it's called the Sydney Art Store, and it's fantastic. I mean, the guy who runs it is Alessandro. He's got everything. He's an artist himself, and he's got everything as cheap as he can make it because his idea is, well, I'm an artist. I want cheap supplies, so I'm going to make sure I get the cheapest deal, and I can pass on that deal to my.
Because I used to try when I was back in my younger days, 18. I was trying to paint landscapes on MDF that I purchased in Bunnings and put gesso on it. I'd get so frustrated because it wasn't traditional art, and I was like, what am I doing? And oil paint used to give me sinus problems too and give me a headache.
Yeah. It's just,
This
is there are lots of problems with making art. You have to be so careful. I know many older artists, like in their 80s, 70s and 80s, that have lung problems, not from smoking necessarily, but from the oil paints, the fumes. And you have to be careful. I've got a painting that's due August 1st, and it's an oil painting, and I haven't started it yet. So I know I've got to make some decisions. Do I do it in oil, or do I let the person who's commissioned it know it's not going to be ready until November, because it takes time to dry, and I need to keep the windows open, so I need to wait until the weather's good enough, and it's only just warm enough now. We've had the most cold winter and the longest running winter. I mean, I'm still wearing a scarf and it's May. Normally, by June 1st, we're in the water swimming in the river.
You can get water-based oil paints, I've heard, but
yes, they're very good. But they're you also have to get the whole set. Can't just blend them with your others. So you have to sort of start again with your collection of paints. And I have my paints worked out exactly how I want them. The level, like the quality and the colours are the ones that I sort of like to stick to. And so I have those supplies, so then they just lie dormant and then they go off. I've got some big, thick, huge tubes that I got. They were on sale 2 for 1 kind of thing. Huge tubes of this like olive green. It's like, yes, I'm going to go. And I don't use olive green. I mean, I do, but I don't use tubes of it. So I got to make a project with, massive splotches of olive green everywhere.
I do all my artwork on an app called Clip to Comic. So I just take a photo and make my own caricature of myself because nice and easy.
I think I've seen some of yours, and that's interesting because nowadays you can get so many different apps to create a picture-like effect. And like a watercolor or a sketch or something. And even now with some of the movie programs like the video, like iMovie or Filmora, you can actually get your video to look like a moving sketch. So you can almost get it, you can get cartoon and all these effects that it's sort of like, well, why bother drawing?
Have you tried Adobe Premiere? Because I tried that. I couldn't get my head around it. I use Canva because I like to keep it easy.
Yeah, Canva's great. The only problem with Canva is that they sell your information. They're really fast and loose with your information. I had to stop with them because I kept getting things saying that they had breached their terms of privacy, and that they had sold my information. And yes, you sign up for it, but it was just a little bit too close to home. I thought, I don't need that. But it's a great program, and it's so simple and effective, and it has so many different options. So yeah, it really is a good one. And then the other one that I find really good is, let me just see if I can find it here. That I've tried is maybe I got rid of it. Yeah, no, I think I must have got rid of it because I wasn't using it for a while. But as far as video, I've been using iMovie for a number of years, but I've reached its limits, and I've looked at doing Filmora, using Filmora, and it's almost like a kid in a candy store. There are so many options, but at the same time, you have more control of what you're doing. So there are lots of things, but you can just make your whole world turn into something it's not with a couple of edits here and there.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Final Cut Pro, but I've mostly used iMovie. Tried to do the whole multi-camera thing, editing. It's too much.
It is very difficult, but it's difficult even if you were doing it like as a producer of a film. And we were just talking about, John and I were talking about this last night. He's like, can you think of two cameras at once on iMovie? And you really can't. You've got a static position, and the image moves in front of the camera, like through cropping and movement and animation. But the camera doesn't itself move, and we're amazed. I mean, I think we're amazing. Our eyes are happy to accept the illusion that something is continuous or contiguous, and it's absolutely not. It's all been chopped up into little pieces and reconfigured so that you see somebody running, and then you see the bullet go past their head, and you've seen the experience. You know what it must feel like because you're in the moment. But that's all been edited with different cuts and different cameras and maybe even different times, maybe even different days. You've got your stunt or your actor, so it's all an illusion. And when you add music to that, which is what I'm telling you something you already know, but when you add sound and music, everything just comes together. So I think that's what's so exciting about mixing visual and or audio, and to me, it's a wonderful way of expressing something that can't always be expressed in real time. But when you see it as an audience or a viewdience or a listener, you get the effect of real time, the illusion, and we're all able to sort of suspend our sense of reality to embark on that illusory experience. And I think virtual reality is probably the next, and holographic activities are the kind of next frontier of creating that perception of what is real and getting enjoyment out of it.
Well, going back to art, I never really got into the whole abstract. I hated it. Never really a Picasso fan. I liked more traditional cartoons, landscape. But
it's a funny thing. I've written on my website. I've got a blog about because somebody asked me about abstract and why don't you draw landscapes? Why do you do abstract? And one of the things I wrote was because my mum was actually at the time doing wildflowers and beautiful, very realistic sketches. She still does them, but she was really doing them every day intensely for a period of time. And watching her, she does exquisite work. Watching her, she would be spending maybe 10 minutes on this one half of a petal or one segment of an onion, just to get the right shading or get the right texture. And if you looked at just what she was doing, just that little tiny section, and you blew it up, there's your abstract. So in our minds, when we're actually drawing, the sort of thrust of my blog discussion was that we're actually abstracting all the time. And so it's not so much that we're, like when we see a landscape, we're not just going, landscape, absorb the visual and then out on the canvas. We are actually abstracting everything into its orderly place, but we're putting it in an order that we find reflects our pleasure of reality. And so that's our aesthetic. And our aesthetic obviously is born out of nature and nurture, our exposure to things, our level of interest in things, our ability to cross-fertilize, use our passion for multidisciplinary activities, and also our ability to take risks and take our art to its logical point of destruction. So I think that's something. That's my plug for abstract.
Yeah, look, it's look. I tried to draw like perspective drawing, like buildings. Could never do it properly. Just couldn't.
That really is training.
Had to get tracing paper.
Yeah.
And just copy it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that though. I mean, there are no rules. There are no. There's no shame in doing things to get your expression out. The only shame is when you take someone else's and you steal it, and you use it for your own profit, or you use it against someone in a malevolent way, or some way that disrespects somebody. But as far as developing your own ideas, copy away, imitate. That's what everybody else. Michelangelo did it. Picasso did it. He and Braque were copying each other and ancient African masks, all day. So there's nothing wrong with the imitation and copying and tracing. And actually, I don't know if I told you just the other day. It was in. Oh, when was it? It was the end of April, so I don't know if I told you about the performance I did. Did I tell you about that one?
Yeah, that was on the last episode.
And that was about chasing traces, that's right. And the idea of tracing is so important. I mean, you think of now with the coronavirus, the idea of, where did that person go? Where were they? Tracing their steps so that people can, make sure that they're isolated if they have to be, or quarantined or safe. And the whole idea of a paper chase, as you probably know, if you have some problems like with Medicare, or you have to do anything to do with local or federal government, you've got a paper chase. You'll get a run around. You'll get people saying, "So this form, no, this form." I've had a classic one with my e-card, which is our equivalent to Medicare, and my e-card expired. No problem. Go make the phone call to the person who said this is exactly what you do, and they go, "No problem. All you need is to go here." Okay, no problem. No problem. All you have to do is go here. No problem. Okay, now you have to go here. Okay, and so 4 telephone calls later, I get a little tiny card, which has been crossed off a name and handwritten the new name, and an email and a phone number to send to them to ask for a form so that I can fill it out and get my card renewed. This has taken a week to get that little card, when it could have been just like, it could have been there all the time. So it's very, we call it Kafkaesque bureaucracy here. It's amazing. And one department does not know what they're doing. And when you first come here, it's unlike Australia where everything seems centralized. You can kind of almost do everything in one day with one department. Although it's getting less so now. But here it's so decentralized. And at first when you get here, you go, oh my gosh, I've got like 5 different places to go to get this signed, but it has to be in this order. And it's almost it is overwhelming at times. And now it's just like, yeah, okay, got to wait in line here. Okay, yep, no, book an appointment. Yep, no, this appointment wasn't right. Okay, no problem. You just keep going through the motions and taking time off work, and people are happy to accept that you need time off work to go to stand in a line, or take an appointment that isn't actually necessary. That's the way they are here. They're all, yeah, no problem. Take your time. So it's an interesting thing. It's also what's happened in Europe right now is the countries are their national identity, I suppose, or the way the governments are working, they're really closing in on their own identity out of safety, reasons, but other reasons as well that are happening politically in the world. And so a lot of things, if you are a citizen of a country, you're fine. You are so supported as best as the country can support you. Unemployment, compensation, workers' compensation, anything like that, housing, taxes, medical, education, you're fine. If you're not a citizen, you have to go through lots of hoops. You still can get and access the same benefits, but you have to go through many loops, whereas the citizen simply gets it sent in the mail. By the way, you got this benefit. So and this is happening more intensely. So there is like a subtle shift, subtle but definite shift towards a more nationalistic approach to the way social services are being offered to people. I don't know whether it's everywhere. I don't know whether that's happening necessarily, but I get the feeling. My impression is that that's happening all over Europe and probably all over the world in some ways. But certainly, it's happening in Austria, and you just get the feeling that people are closing in on them on their own, kind of keeping themselves closed in. And it's probably not just the coronavirus; it's the whole EU unrest, leave Brexit and other countries wanting to leave the EU, and what's happened in America and China and Russia and there are a lot, and obviously Israel, Palestine. So there's lots of things that make people want to kind of close in on themselves and just be like, just don't bother me right now, kind of feeling.
Yeah, what is this whole thing going on with Israel and Palestine? I keep hearing on the news. I don't get it.
Well, basically the problem is that the after World War One, I think it was. I don't know my facts exactly, but basically, the Israel was designed. The demarcations were plotted out on a map, but not thinking about the Palestine and the tribal kind of life that the Palestinians had. So the PLO was just constantly trying to fight, defend themselves against this. But what's happened is that there's no way to get around it. It's an impossible situation, even though impossible isn't a word. But it's just there's no way to get out of this because they've intertwined politics and religion. So we don't have to go there, but it is a huge problem because of those entanglements and the fact that other countries, both Muslim countries or Muslim majority countries and Christian majority countries, are both supporting Israel. So where do the Palestinians get their support from? It's very tricky. I mean, will they get it from the Russians or the Chinese? Or are there any other Muslim nations or Muslim majority nations in the Middle East? And then when they get it, what do they do with it? What do they do with the power? The only option they have, other than talking to each other, is to keep fighting.
Yeah, I don't get that because then you see Joe Biden popping up on TV and, apparently Donald Trump, I don't know if he restored peace in the Middle East, but yeah.
It's unlikely he restored it because it never was there.
Yeah.
And we're talking about conflicts that are, thousands of years old as well as the fresh ones. Like Israel's a new conflict, but the tribal aspect and the religious aspects have been ongoing for thousands of years.
Yeah.
But the person if you really want to know more, she is absolutely fabulous. Her name is Abby Martin, and she has a YouTube site called The Empire, and she covers it. She goes into Israel and she goes close to the Gaza Strip as she can. She talks to the Israeli people and the Palestinian people just on the street as best as she can. She's been vilified and she's had death threats, of course, because she's presenting this information. But many of the Israeli Jews living in Israel, Jerusalem, they're just saying, just get rid of them. Just get rid of those Palestinians. They're scum. They're not even human. And this is what's happening here is exactly what was happening in Europe pre the Holocaust. People were saying, oh, they're scum. They actually do nothing in our society other than ruin it. They're not even human. And if you dehumanize somebody and you do that in a systematic way and you have enough critical mass of people saying the same thing, somebody lying on the street doesn't mean anything. It's like, well, were they Jew? Yeah, then kick them here. Who cares? Push them aside. It's not like they were one of us. It's not like they were human or anything. And this dehumanization makes everything so much easier for people to turn a blind eye when they do see an atrocity, or they do see something that's unfair, because they go, well, they had it coming. I mean, it's a little bit, there's a lot of this in various minorities, but just because you asked the Israeli-Palestine one, that's kind of where this is coming to a head right now, because the Israelis are just they're just simply pushing out the Palestinians from their houses. Literally, they walk in, take the people out, remove the people, put them in a slum place or some, just push them away and say, this is ours now, we're owed this, this is ours. And they just lock the doors, change the locks, and done. And so that, obviously, that's not good.
That is the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu or something like that. God, how many years has he been there?
Yeah, he's ancient, isn't he?
Because they don't vote like every 4 years, apparently, like we do, which is kind of weird.
I think he went away and then he came back as well. He was like away and then he became president again. I can't remember, but oh no, he's been there for years, and the Americans want him there. He's suitable. He works for them. It makes sense. Yeah, but there is a lot of problem. There are a lot of problems in the Middle East that are old, but there's this fresh layer, and that's why you're hearing it in the news more now. But then there's also the problem with I don't know what's going to happen with Australia and China. I mean, how is that conflict going to resolve itself, and how does that affect the Australian economic situation? And then, of course, anything that affects the economic situation in Australia affects the cultural world. So then you've got less money for culture and art and music. And so, these things are connected. These, we think, oh, that's way over there, or, that's just a political kind of issue. Well, no, it's not. We as musicians are in the midst of this political situation, and when we do express ourselves, in some ways, you could say, well, what's the meaning of it? Why bother when the world is so, uselessly and unhelpfully, tragically, disastrously killing people, just, or causing such horror. Why bother? Why bother writing music? Right? Why bother playing it? Why bother making art of any type, whether it's theatre or music for documentaries, or why bother? But I think it's really important for us, I find, to find the meaning in what it is that we can see clearly and express that. So I may have some slightly askew, of course, ideas about something because of Australia, because living in Europe now for now I think it's almost 6 years. So Australia is quite distant. It's distant from me. So I might have an askew idea, but if I do get a clear idea, it comes through, and I use the art and music. I work with the art and music to express that clarity. And so I think that's what an artist and a musician, how they can connect politically to the mayhem. I mean, it's not all bad, of course. When we got the vaccine, how exciting, that there was a vaccine for the coronavirus. But on the other hand, how disastrous that has turned out to be politically when they decided to, make it, keep patents for the drug, when deliveries weren't made when they were promised. When people decided, like for instance, Austria. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. Austria decided to cancel its next order of AstraZeneca vaccine because AstraZeneca didn't fulfill their contract for the first order.
Well, we keep hearing in Australia about these blood clotting on the AstraZeneca vaccine, and yet I get my GPs telling me, well, it's more for over 50 years old.
Look, have you ever known anybody who's had a blood clot? Like if they've had a stroke or they've had thrombosis, or it's severe. I mean, it is one of the worst things because you can have it for a number of years, and suddenly it just decides to shift, and you've got somebody with a paralytic stroke. So it's a shocking thing. Having said that, there are plenty of other things that cause blood clots, and people traveling, people sitting too long in one place, people not exercising, people carrying too much weight, people drinking, people smoking, people, increasing, not knowing how to handle stress in their life, poor diet. Like there's so many things, genetic things. And of course, then there's the age factor. The longer you live, the more likely you are to die. So there are so many of these factors. So yeah, I think this has been a political debate. This whole business of there may be clots happening because of the vaccine, but they haven't actually been able to prove it or disprove it. It's there are other factors in this person's health that could have played into it. It's a bit like saying, well, then you should never fly a plane because you are going to run the risk of getting a blood clot. Now,
well,
because
Australia,
it's a pleasure, okay, no more going to Fiji for your holidays. Done. No,
Australia
you have to catch a boat.
has been very slow with our rollout as well.
Yeah.
UK's
and
ahead.
I think there's a resistance to it too. Yeah. But, have you got your vaccine yet? Were you able to get it yet?
Not yet. Probably later in the year.
And because I know some people who were able to get it and they've just jumped on and got it. But then there are others who are saying, I'm going to wait until I need to go overseas. And it's like, that's silly. So you're saying you need it, but you don't need it right now when you're living in Australia. Because you don't think you're going to get it from people who are coming to Australia who might not be. And it's like,
you wait.
It doesn't make sense.
You wait till the border opens up again. Even vaccinated people will start spreading it.
Well, this is the problem. There are variants and there are and not all the vaccinations are 100% for every person, of course. So yes, it could easily be that we're going to get this. I don't know. I mean, as far as travel in Europe, they're considering a vaccination pass. And so if I want to go and do a performance somewhere in another country, like Croatia or something, then I have to have a pass to say that I've been vaccinated. And that's fine. I'm happy to do that.
I said this to my GP. I don't want to get this shot every year. I really don't want to.
Yeah, well, yeah.
This COVID shot. And he goes, oh, most likely we could. And I'm like, oh, boy.
Yeah. But have you had the flu shot? Do you ever get that?
Always.
You get that every year?
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same thing. And as far as the side effects, it's probably about the same statistically of getting something, causing something. So I think it's an issue, but I mean I'm getting my next my second injection for the vaccine next week.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I feel like, yep, that's good. I had a little bit of fatigue, maybe a headache, nothing, So that was fine. And same with my parents. They didn't get any side effects. Both my sisters have had the first jab, and they didn't get any. They just a little bit of tiredness, headache. So maybe our family has the whatever it is, the fortitude that the vaccine doesn't hurt us or harm us or give us side effects. The problem in Europe now is that there are people who really want the vaccine who aren't eligible to get it because of the way they're structuring the most vulnerable first. But there are people in the vulnerable segments that don't want it. So it's like there are people here who are desperate to get it. They want it now. They would go down to the centre and get the vaccine right now. And there are others who's like, I'll wait a year, and they're in the over 70s, or they're in the medical profession. I mean, even some of the doctors are saying they don't want to get it here. And right now it's voluntary, so you don't have to get it. Like even where I work, we all decided we would get it. It was only a recommendation that we get the vaccine when I work with the children. And if we don't get it, then we have to do other things, like we have to be tested twice a week, and we have to wear masks anytime we're in contact with outside our little bubble of people that we work with.
You look at India has gone quite bad. Yeah. I don't know.
But I think that I just got a feeling yesterday, and I thought, I should actually draw this. This is a kind of a sketch, but I just got the feeling that what we've experienced between 2020 or end of 2019 and now is just this little kind of wave like that. And actually, and I could be wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I just feel like there's another one coming. It's going to be like off the chart.
A third wave, most likely.
Well, this would be not even a wave. This would be the wave. These were just the ripples. I just get this feeling that we're actually heading for something. Now, it could be me doomsdaying and feeling, but I just get the feeling that people aren't taking it, the whole concept of catching a disease from other people. People are flaunting this, and now we have diseases that mutate and can cause more and more damage. I mean, what was it? The bird flu,
swine flu.
Swine flu. Even what was the other one? That one. It's in Australia a lot. From ticks.
Lyme disease.
Lyme disease. Yeah. These are all kind of possible to explode and mutate into something like a bloom of amazing drug-resistant things, like things that used to be helped with antibiotics. They're now resistant to antibiotics, and so maybe we're building a perfect storm by not actually taking these things seriously enough, or just taking them seriously enough for ourselves, not for our community as a world. So look, I'm fine. I'm healthy. I can go to the bar now. I can go out and do my shopping. I don't need to wear a mask because I'm healthy, and I'm not going to catch it. And so it's all about, and we're told take responsibility. So you go, well, I'm taking my responsibility. It's my responsibility to do this. It's not my responsibility to take any care of you because it's all about me. Mentality, I think, is a problem.
I haven't gone into the city or any clubs or pubs until I know this is going to go away. That's just me.
Yeah. Oh, I'm totally exactly. I'm the same. I have a gig next week.
Yeah.
It's the first group ensemble. It's with the Vienna Improvisers Orchestra, and we have our first. Or I'm joining them for the first time in over a year. And they've had 2 performances since I think I was in one of them. But anyway, they've had 2 performances. I think this is the 3rd one in the past 2 years. And normally they're like happening pretty much every 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And because I'm vaccinated and I feel like, I feel like I'm confident. We have stringent things in place. For instance, we have to have tested negative the past 72 hours. We're all wearing masks, except when we're playing. We're maintaining a 2-meter distance. We're doing all the things you're supposed to do. And we've also got a curfew time to leave. So that we're not hanging around and drinking and, saying, hey, and, and then eventually going, we've got to give each other a hug. We're trying to keep all that from preventing that from happening until absolutely everyone is vaccinated and everyone is healthy and the rate of the disease is dropping. Right now, it was low and it's crept back up again. And what's happened is from May the 8th, things started to open up again. And on May the 19th, things completely opened with few restrictions, except like public transport wearing a mask, that sort of thing, in shops wearing a mask. The virus has crept up. The cases have gone up.
Jesus
Christ. So obvious. And it doesn't make sense. I think what people do is, I know the people around me are being really careful. We're still washing our hands. We're still doing all the things you have to do, still keeping the distance. And then there are people who say, oh, it's over now. And they just take off their masks, start breathing on everyone and inhale everybody else's breathing. It's like, why can't people just understand that this is maybe for the next 10 years, this might be the thing we have to do, is protect each other and maintain distances and keep each other from out of harm's way, as well as keeping our economy going and everything. There's nothing wrong with wearing a mask. I mean, in China, people wear masks every day. They've been doing it for decades now. And
they've got a lot of air pollution in China anyway.
Yeah.
But in Australia, we've virtually returned back to normal. Just have to check in with a QR code at a coffee shop, which is annoying, or the library. You've got to wear a mask on a public transport, but I don't know what's going on with nightclubs and all that. Because
we have in Austria now, the museums are open, but they have to maintain a 20-meter distance between people.
Jesus Christ.
So it's like, 5 people per room or something. But people are so desperate to get back into the art galleries that they're willing to, do that. And as far as the live performances, they are happening. They will be happening this weekend. Most of them are outdoors. We have a lot of outdoor courtyards and things where people do their summer gigs. As far as the large parties and the large performances and performance venues, they're going to open up with a smaller audience. But if you go to any one of those places and you go, some of them are underground or some of them have no windows. They're set up as a theatre for a sonic and visual experience that you don't want interruptions of things on the outside world. They're closed in. There's a bunch of people probably drinking and breathing all over everybody, yelling and shouting because the music is so loud, so you have to speak loud or yell. So there's going to be a lot of spit and gunk and stuff flying through the air in an unventilated place, even if that space is actually could have more people in it, but they're restricting it. So I'm concerned about the nightclub scenes and the that sort of even concerts, performances of orchestral or opera performances. All that is all that's going to be a problem. but people feel like that's more important to have than the. They feel like it's overcompensating if they don't have it, and they're restricted, and yeah, no one really knows. And this may be nothing. Like I said, this may be just the ripples before the massive. I mean,
I
we
think
don't know. We don't know.
there's going to be a pandemic in the future 10 times worse than this.
Yeah, we don't know when or where or how or what. But there's. It's definitely the world is setting itself, or the people in the world is setting up itself for this because of our desire to travel and connect with people, the population increase, and people just wanting to be with people more physically. And I think things, the old-fashioned good manners. So like, good day to you, and and just a nod of the head rather than a big hug or a high five or all this contact. We sounding old-fashioned, but maybe we need to go back to some of these older traditions of greeting people with a gesture rather than a physical contact, and then save our physical contact for the people who we are more intimate with, that we are in our little social bubble. So, our very close friends and family, rather than hugging everybody in the room kind of thing. There may be something behaviorally that we could change without losing the intimacy and the honesty that you get from somebody when you have that close contact. So yeah, I think there may be some things that have to be done, but yeah, I think they won't be done until they have to be, until people say, right, we've got no choice. So yeah, and it's an interesting time right now, because I don't think a lot of people, and I know a lot of musicians could never have seen this coming, this whole thing, and the way that they've adapted, and the way we've adapted to the online kind of experience, and same with artists and drama, theatre people. How we have adapted is just amazing, and this ability to adapt is such a strength that we have. That people who have who have maybe less creative jobs, or jobs that require them to be more repetitive and put a strain on their ability to do the same thing every day, factory workers or office workers, there's they're having struggles because their ability to adapt isn't as pliable and as highly skilled as musicians or an artists very often. So they need to be entertained. That's what we do. We entertain them. But they need that entertainment. So when they don't get it, if we can't supply it and they don't get it, then they're the ones that are stressed. We keep producing because that's how we are. You can't get up in the morning and say, no, not today. It doesn't happen like that. If the muse strikes you, you got to go after her. So I'm sure you've woken up in the morning like there's no one who's asking you to do anything. There's no commission out there on the horizon, but you just got to get this thing done. It's just like you got to make it that day. It's got to come out. And those are really exciting moments, I think.
Plenty of times. But yeah. Awesome. Yeah, awesome show today. The podcast have done, I think, 110 episodes now. So
excellent.
It's been really good.
Yeah. I'm subscribing to your channel and letting people know that it exists. So that's good.
Yeah, keep listening. I had some very good teachers from the Insight Time meditation app as well. It's an awesome way to make a living as a meditation teacher, I think.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like living the dream.
Yeah, Jason Stevenson was on the show. He's a legend. 2 million YouTube subscribers. Yeah.
You've had some good people. Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's been really good. What's on the plan for you?
Today,
gig
we've got a
wise.
long weekend.
Yeah.
And so I'm practicing my soprano, saxophone, and clarinet for the next gig.
Yeah.
Next Friday night, and with the Vienna Improvisers Orchestra. And I'm finishing off a commissioned artwork that's right on the verge of. I haven't signed my name yet, but it's on the close. It'll be finished pretty much today. Starting a new one today, and doing a few more recordings for a project that I'm doing. And so it's a pretty busy weekend. Just getting things prepared for the next week or so. So yeah, it's
Awesome.
So not much out there, but more preparation in. I feel like I'm the snake that's moving back, about to bite, getting everything ready, and then charge. So yeah, but it's I'm very lucky that I have the work that I'm doing, and the interest that I'm doing in my art and my music is starting to it's never enough, but it's just starting to happen that at the moment, for the past year, I've always had a commission on the horizon, either music or art or both or a combination. So nothing massive, but it's always there, and that's a really good feeling of validity.
Sweet.